What's going on? Welcome back to Off the Schneid. Today we're taking a look at my Cincinnati Bengals. Yes, if you are a fan of the channel, if you watch a lot of these, I'm a Cincinnati Bengals fan. Still a little hurting from the end of the Super Bowl. Very, very, very winnable game. Don't really want to get into it. I haven't even rewatched the game yet. I'm still a little hurt. It was right there and definitely a game that we coulda, shoulda won type of thing. But, I couldn't be happier or prouder than the boys for getting to that game. Nobody expected us to get there. I didn't expect us to get there, to be honest. So, it was a banner season for the Cincinnati Bengals, and hopefully we can get back there, and get that win this time. But it's going to be a treacherous road through the AFC. But I think the Bengals have a phenomenal team. So let's get right into it. Looking at the draft capital, obviously you can see the draft needs right up here. I'll get into that. Draft capital wise, anybody who's a Bengals fan, we don't really trade much. We just don't trade draft picks a lot. There's not a ton of movement. There's not a ton of, picks that aren't our own, that sort of thing. We usually stay where we are, pick who we like, and do a pretty good job of it, to be honest. Like, realistically, the Bengals draft fairly well. They've done well in free agency recently, but we do draft fairly well, and it's just not a common thing for the Bengals to move around the draft board. It's just not, and everybody that's a Bengals fan knows that as well. It kind of is what it is, and you expect it now. It's just, that's how she goes. But 31st overall, obviously, for finishing runner-up last year. All of our own picks. We got a second, 7th round pick from the Giants. I don't know where that's from, and I don't really care. It's a 7th round pick. But yeah, let's get right into it here. So we got Joe Burrow, obviously our franchise guy. We're going to have to pay him relatively soon, so we're going to expect that. But let's try to get, a Super Bowl win while he's on his rookie contract. That's, realistically, that's the goal of a lot of NFL teams right now. And, you see a kind of a drop off after that quarterback takes that salary away from your salary cap. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs with the Patrick Mahomes deal. They kind of fell off a little bit. But at that same token, look at the last two teams, at least, that have won the Super Bowl. The LA Rams, obviously, last year, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers both paid their quarterbacks relative, 20 to 30 million a year, quite a bit of salary cap. So, it's not like a be all end all. You have to win you have to win a Super Bowl with your quarterback on a rookie deal, but it definitely helps out, and you can make a better roster and maybe win back to back, stuff like that. So anyways, Joe Burrow's awesome. Everybody knows it. He's a phenomenal quarterback, one of the best in the game. I think he's going to have even a better year this year than he did last year. So I'm looking forward to it. Brandon Allen is just fine as a backup quarterback. I'm more than happy with that. So there's no need there. Move to running back. Joe Mixon, I've always been on the fence with Joe Mixon. I like him, don't like him kind of thing. Like, I don't like how he runs the ball. I've said it the entire time that he's been a Bengal. I've said it on more than one of these episodes. I just don't love how he runs the ball. He's averaged 4.1 for his career. He's 4.1 last year on, he had total about 340 touches last year, 292 rushing attempts. He had 1,200 yards, which I think was second in the league, maybe second or third in the league in total rushing yards. He can do everything. He can play all three downs. He's a very good running back, but, that yards per carry is not, that says a lot to me. He's a 4.1 throughout his entire career. You'd like to see that a little higher. At least I would. 4.1 yards per carry on 292 attempts. That's a lot of times being tackled behind the line of scrimmage, at the line of scrimmage, that sort of a thing. His long last year was only like 30 yards, so it's not like he's busting off 70, 60, 70, 50-yard touchdowns or anything like that. It's just not happening. It's just, I don't love the way he runs the ball. I'm never going to not say that. I'll never backtrack from that. I just won't. So it is what it is, and that is a need, I think, and I'll get to that in a second. Samaje Perine, I would be fine if they cut him and just he's not on this team. What happened in the Super Bowl is pretty unacceptable in my opinion. I don't even know why he was in that game anyways, but it is what it is. I'm not a fan of Samaje Perine. I think I was last year, but this year proved that he's not a capable backup in my opinion. I think they need to add a guy in the draft, not anywhere high, realistically in the NFL draft, you can get a quality running back in the 4th, 5th, 6th round, something like that, and they can wait till those later rounds to pick up a running back that can potentially, you know, at least compete to be your backup running back. I really like Chris Evans. I like what he did last year. I think he'll improve this year. I think he's the best pass catcher on this team, even though Joe Mixon is pretty good, at least efficiency-wise. I think Chris Evans just has a little more explosiveness in his game. You know, he had like a 10-yard average per catch. I mean, way less volume, but I'm excited to see what he can do with a little more volume heading into this season. Move over to tight end. They lost CJ Uzomah, just let him walk, and he went to the New York Jets. Hayden Hurst, realistically, I think that was a great signing. He can do everything that CJ Uzomah did. You know, he can be exactly what he was, and that's fine. That's all we need him to be. Drew Sample, who is a wasted 2nd-round pick, you know, he's more like a 4th, 5th round talent, but it is what it is. That's years ago, so it's time I let it go, and everyone else does as well, I guess. But, you know, he's still there, quality depth guy. He can block, he can catch the ball. Thaddeus Moss, the LSU boys have obviously been pushing for him to be on the team and to have a role, so he's still there as well. You know, they're fine at tight end realistically. At that 31 spot, you know, I'll get there in a second, but there is a tight end that I think might fit. Move to the offensive line. They didn't wait for the draft to address it. It was obviously the only hole on this team, you know, in the Super Bowl, in the playoffs, you know, throughout the regular season last year. La'el Collins was a you know, pleasant surprise that he was available. He came to visit Cincinnati. They didn't let him leave without a contract. Love it. He's very good. Happy to have La'el Collins. Alex Kappa, Ted Karras, both have Super Bowl rings, so that's good to have those guys in there. Alex Kappa is still young. Ted Karras can absolutely get the job done. So I love those moves. Those 3 guys are going to pay dividends immediately for this team. Jackson Carman, hopefully he slides in and becomes that, you know, every down left guard that we drafted him to be in the 2nd round last year, and I think he will, so we're fine there. Jonah Williams is a very good left tackle. A lot of people were telling the Bengals to draft a left tackle instead of Jamar Chase. I was never, ever that guy, ever. I did want Kyle Pitts over Jamar Chase. He was taking the pick before. I'm happy to take Jamar Chase. I took some heat for it, and look at me now. Look at us now, the people that believed in not taking offensive line with that first round pick last year, that 5th overall. And it just didn't make sense. Why? Because Jonah Williams is a very good left tackle, and he was a 1st round selection a couple years ago. He got hurt. Now he's healthy, played well last year. He's going to play well this year. More than happy with Jonah Williams. I do have offensive line as a need, and realistically, it's strictly I need a left tackle that can be a backup left tackle. Deontay Smith and Akeem Adeniji both played left tackle in college, and they are, you know, obviously penciled in there as the left guard, left tackle, that sort of a thing. But realistically, you know, that was at Kansas and East Carolina. I just am not ready to trust those guys if there is an injury to Jonah Williams. And do you move La'el Collins over to the left side? Maybe, but I would rather grab a left tackle, and I have some names in mind, which I'll get to in a second. Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase are all phenomenal, especially obviously Jamar Chase and even T. Higgins. Tyler Boyd is fantastic as a slot receiver. You know, I do have wide receiver as a need, and I do think that they need to address it somewhere in the draft. I think I should have put offensive line higher than wide receiver, to be honest, because they're all luxury picks. But looking at the backup wide receivers last year for this team, wide receiver 4 through 8, this was the stat line with those 5 guys combined. 27 targets, 14 catches, 177 yards, and 1 touchdown. That was the stat line for 5 wide receivers after the top 3 there. So it's not really a need. And realistically, Morgan Stanley, Mike Thomas, Trenton Irwin can get it done. Trent Taylor, they can all get it done. And Trent Taylor's probably your punt returner. So yeah, I mean, it is a slight need, but realistically, I wouldn't be that upset if they didn't even draft a wide receiver. So maybe I shouldn't have had it on there, but it is what it is. Let's move over to Lou Anarumo's defense there. And I do want to touch on the coordinators quickly because both of those guys, Brian Callahan on the offense and Lou Anarumo on the defense, they're both probably going to be candidates to be head coaches relatively soon. So, the Bengals just keep churning out head coach, candidates. It's always been a bit of a thing with the Bengals. It has, love us or hate us, it's a fact. We've always had quality coaching. So there you go. And I was worried about this entire unit, head coach, everybody. I was worried about this entire coaching unit before this year started. And I'm now, I need to apologize to at least Lou Anarumo because I wasn't sure about him. And Zach Taylor, I wasn't sure about either. But hey, I'll apologize publicly to both of those guys because they're absolutely dudes and they can absolutely be head coaches. Head coaches, both of them probably in the NFL. So apologies, there you go. But let's move over to the defense. I have corner as the biggest need. Let's start at the defensive line though. So Trey Hendrickson, a lot of people didn't like that contract for God knows why. He was phenomenal last year and he's going to be great again this year. Sam Hubbard, they drafted him to be what he is. Turns out he is that good. I'm really happy with Sam Hubbard. He's fantastic as well. Joseph Asai comes back after being injured. Cam Sample, who was a 4th round pick last year, played pretty well, sparingly, but he played pretty well. I think they're okay there. I don't think it's, a necessity at all. Khalid Kareem, Wyatt Huber, Noah Spence are all there. That's okay. Like, I really don't think they need to address it. If they do, maybe later 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, something like that, go ahead. But, we don't need to sink a premium pick into the defensive end position. Defensive line, it's still very good. Don't get me wrong. DJ Reader's fantastic, and I think Tyler Shelvin can do a great job backing him up. BJ Hill is very, very good. We saw how good he can be in the playoffs. Lost Larry Ogunjobi, obviously, and that hurts. I think BJ Hill can definitely slide in and start there for Larry Ogunjobi, but we need to replace, BJ Hill now. We need to replace that production. So I do have a couple names in mind, which I'll get to in a second, but that's absolutely a need. Not a nose tackle, because that's DJ Reader and Tyler Shelvin, but a defensive tackle, an interior pass rusher. A guy that can spell BJ Hill. BJ Hill and Larry Ogunjobi combined for 12.5 sacks last year. So we need somebody to fill those shoes. We'll move back. Linebackers are fantastic. Not concerned at all. Logan Wilson is absolutely a guy. He turned out great. Jermaine Pratt can definitely get the job done. He was like second on this team in tackles, over 90 tackles. Akeem Davis-Gaither, Marcus Bailey, Joe Bacci, all played fairly, not Marcus Bailey, but Joe Bacci and Akeem Davis-Gaither played pretty prominent roles, special teams as well as on the defense. Clay Johnston, he's there as well. They're fine at linebacker. Do not draft a linebacker, please. We're fine. Safeties are in a great spot. Let's start there. Jesse Bates, one of the best safeties in the game. I don't care what anybody says. He absolutely is. Franchise tagged him. I really hope they re-sign him after this season. Von Bell, another tackling machine inside the box, strong safety. They could add a safety again late in the draft as a depth piece, but again, I'm not sinking a premium pick into a safety, not this year anyways. We'll see what happens with Jesse Bates, and as Von Bell gets a little bit older, he's still very young, 27 I think, so no problems there. Corner, the Bengals have always had a ton of good corners. They just have. They've always had, the next guy up type of thing. And I absolutely love that, because in today's NFL, you need four or five quality corners in order to compete. And I'm a little concerned about Eli Apple. I don't think that I feel comfortable with Eli Apple as a starter, as 100% starter on this defense. Chidobe Awuzie was fantastic last year. I thought he would be, and I'm very happy with how he's worked out. Mike Hilton is fantastic, but they need that other guy, and Eli Apple's a depth piece. Now let's get some names out here. I want some meat on these bones for my own team, obviously. So, looking at what their needs are, there's cornerback. There's a few options here. They can absolutely draft a guy, and I think they absolutely will, and they should draft a guy, first, second, third, maybe 4th round, but first, second, or third, I'm taking a cornerback. And then I'm also looking to free agency. There's a guy out there by the name of Joe Hayden, who everybody, especially Bengals fans, know. He's done nothing but play in the AFC North his entire career. Might as well, join another team, 3 of 4 and come play for the Bengals. I'd be more than happy to scoop up Joe Hayden. He's still a free agent who's out there. There's a bunch, all the guys that played for the Bengals last year, they're still free agents, or a lot of them are still available. Obviously, Trey Waynes, Trey Flowers, Mackenzie Alexander are all still available as well. I bring back maybe one of those guys, as well as Joe Hayden, and draft a guy. So that's what I do at the cornerback position, something like that, or a combination of all of that sort of a thing. And then for the offensive line, the left tackle that I'm looking for is Darian Kennard from Kentucky, or Tyler Smith from Tulsa. Those are two guys that you could plug in there as the backup left tackle and be a swing guy if need be, that sort of a thing. Because Isaiah Prince, he really showed that he is a little bit weak. Maybe he can improve, or maybe he can slide in and be the backup right guard sort of a thing. But I just think to add the depth that we need on the offensive line, we need a left tackle who is a left tackle. And I think those two guys can get the job done. So, whether that's in the first round or second round, we'll see what happens. Now the defensive line, let's go there. So if Devonte Wyatt is available at 31, I am Usain Bolt sprinting to the podium and drafting Devonte Wyatt. Absolutely, not even thinking about it. That's the guy I want if he's available at 31. I do not expect him to be available at 31. So I just want to get that out there. If he is and they don't take him, I will be very, very upset. Let's leave it there. Fedarian Mathis, Travis Jones, Perrion Winfrey are the next 3 guys on the defensive line. Those are one of those 3. Sorry, 4. Well, 3, because I won't include Devonte Wyatt. I fully expect him to be gone. One of those 3, one of those left tackles, any combination of that at cornerback for the Bengals, and I'm a happy camper for this year's draft. So there you go. That's it. Let me know what you think in the comments of this. There's your depth chart breakdown, draft needs, draft capital, all that stuff you need to know to get you ready for the Bengals draft in 2022. Like I said, let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you on the next episode.